All right, thanks, guys. Before we get into today's programming, obviously, I want to take this time to say rest in peace to Kobe Bryant. Certainly a guy that, growing up, certainly, made a buzz in the community. I don't know if you guys knew this. I grew up outside of Philadelphia, and growing up, man, the next big thing was Kobe. You read about him all in the papers. The area was buzzing. When playoff time came in basketball, and Kobe and Rip Hamilton, faced off, in the playoffs, and it was just. Kobe was the kind of guy that, you just, I didn't know him personally, obviously. Not a lot of people did. But, you felt like you grew up with him. This guy has been prominent from the time I was in middle school into my 30s. I'm a huge sports buff. I played sports my entire life. And so every night, every day, you watch Sports Center, you watch the highlights, and this guy was at the top of it. This guy was the guy every night. So there is a part of you, you feel like, you grew up, with that athlete, and just so tragic and quick. It wasn't like, he was an old man. Struggling, man. He was getting ready to do great things. He was doing great things. I mean, Kobe, the entrepreneur, really inspired me to take life into my own hands. Over the past year, I would just dive into so many Kobe Bryant podcasts and use him not as an athlete, but as a businessman for inspiration. So I just want to, say, our thoughts and our prayers are with his family, as well as the families of the, people that, passed away in the helicopter. Just, parents, family, friends going to a basketball game. Hey, let's take Kobe's chopper to the game. What a fantastic opportunity. What a great experience. So, one thing I want to share with you guys about Kobe real quick. Back in 2007, I was actually watching a baseball game in Ash Park in Coatesville, Pennsylvania. And if you guys don't know, if you're from the Philly area, you probably know about Ash Park. That back then, one of the most prominent, popular summer basketball leagues was in Ash Park. It was the Coatesville Adult Summer Basketball League. It was very, very popular. It would get, on TV. And so, believe it or not, I was actually watching a baseball game at Ash Park, and beyond the left field fence, that's where the basketball courts were. That's where the blacktop was, and the courts were always packed. Whenever I would go to Ash Park, courts were always packed. And one day, like I said, in 2007, it was summer, it was hot. I saw two Hummers pull up, and they parked in left field. They parked right beyond the left field foul line. They parked in foul territory. The Hummers were actually in play, and they parked. And it was right by the blacktop, right by the pool there. And of course, out of the first Hummer was Rip Hamilton, and that was not an unusual sight. Rip was a Coatesville guy. We would see Rip, around the town, around the area. I used to see him always at the hot dog joint there, Midway Hot Dogs in that area. Used to see him, in Downingtown, buying cars down there, D'Ambrosio. So seeing Rip around town, that wasn't that wasn't a big to do. It was cool. It was definitely cool to see him, but it certainly was not out of the norm. But out of the other Hummer, door opened and it was like a glow, like an aura about his presence. After that door opened in the second Hummer, out came Kobe Bryant. It was so cool, man. And Kobe and Rip, they came to Ash Park in Coatesville unannounced to greet the fans at Ash Park at the basketball league. Nobody was expecting them. It was a complete shock. It was a complete surprise, and it was really cool. It looked like a mob scene. And those guys, they had a small entourage, but they didn't have, high-level security with them. They just showed up, said hello to the people, giving pointers and stuff like that completely unannounced. And that was a really, really cool thing that I was able to experience. But regardless, rest in peace to Kobe, and our thoughts and prayers are with your family. And I don't know if you guys felt like I did when I heard the news yesterday. I was not only sick to my stomach, but I couldn't do anything. I didn't do anything yesterday, and I've never been affected by a celebrity athlete's death like I was with this one. And so if you were feeling, crappy yesterday and you're feeling crappy today, it's completely normal, and I understand it. And don't try to fight it. Don't think that you're, weird. If you're a sports fan, you should be affected by this, because Kobe meant, a lot to the game of basketball, and he meant a lot to athletes. So anyway, guys, that is going to do it for my Kobe, little speech there. And we're going to go ahead and move on, because obviously Kobe wanted to, strive for excellence, be the best in everything. And, the great Mike Tyson said, the purpose of life is to be your best, is to be your absolute best. The purpose of life is to do your best. So we're going to continue to try to do our best, with this program, with this podcast. So hate to get emotional on you guys. That'll be the last time you see that from me. But this certainly, rest in peace to Kobe and his family. But guys, let's go ahead and get into some lines and personal leans here for Monday's NBA action. And we are going to start off with Cleveland taking on Detroit. And that's going to be a 7 o'clock Eastern tip-off in Detroit. The Pistons are the 6.5-point favorite, total at 219 and a hook. We saw a 0.5 point fade of Detroit and movement downward on the total. The Pistons open as the 7-point favorite, down to -6.5. Total open 222.5, down to 219 and a hook. 54% are leaning Pistons, 53% shaded toward the over. And right now, Cleveland is plus 330. Cleveland is plus 235 on the money line. Now, Cleveland 12-11 against the spread on the road. They rank in the top 5 in offensive rebounding. Colin Sexton is averaging 19 points a game, 3 rebounds. Kevin Love, 17 points a game, 10 boards for him. And Tristan Thompson, 12 points a game, 10 rebounds for the Cavaliers. Cleveland ranks in the top 10 in defensive rebounding on the road. They are 12-9 against the spread, taking on teams under 450. They also went 2-1 against the spread in their prior 3 head-to-head matchups with the Pistons. Now, Detroit really struggling at home, just 9-15 on their home court. And out of those 24 home games, they've successfully covered the point spread in just 9 of them. They rank in the bottom 3 in offensive rebounding, bottom 5 in defensive field goal percentage. Jackson and Snell are listed as questionable for the Pistons. Detroit just 3-6 straight up in their last 9. They rank, they're covering just 30% of their games in their last 10, and they rank in the bottom 3 in home offensive rebounding. Now, the Pistons on the other side, 3-0 to the over in their last 3, 80% to the over in their last 10. They're also 17-7 to the over on their home court. Now, 3 out of Cleveland's last 4 games got over the number as well. The Cavaliers are also 70% to the over in their last 10. I'm going to lean Cavaliers plus 6.5 and the over 219.5 in that game. Next matchup, Magic taking on the Heat, 7:30 Miami. The Heat are the 4-point favorite, total at 211.5. We saw a half a point fade of Miami and movement downward on the total. The Heat open as the 4.5-point favorite, down to -4. Total open 220. Total open 212, down to 211 and a hook. 67% are leaning Miami, 65% shaded toward the over. And right now, Orlando is plus 165 on the money line. The Magic have dropped 5 out of their last 6 games. They also went just 1-5 against the spread in those 6. The Magic rank in the bottom 3 in scoring, bottom 3 in offensive field goal percentage. They're averaging just 103 points per contest. Meanwhile, out of their 23 road games, they've been victorious in just 8 of them. Orlando really struggling on the road this year. Now, Miami on the other side, 4-2 straight up in their last 6. They are a little bit banged up. Dragic, Butler, and Kenny Nunn, they are all listed as questionable for tonight's action. But Bam Adebayo, he has been upgraded to probable, so we should see him in action. Tyler Hero, he's averaging 13 points a game, 4 rebounds. Duncan Robinson, 12 points a game, 3 rebounds for him. So they do have some role players that can certainly step up in this spot here. And the one thing you have to remember, Miami is virtually unbeatable at home. They are 20-2 straight up at home this year. Unbelievable. Now, 3 out of Miami's last 3 games all got over the number. They're also 80% to the over in their last 10. Orlando on the other side, 13-10 to the over. When traveling, I'm going to lean Miami -4 and the over 211.5 in that contest.